Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. In this video we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Fay and the impacts that it's going to have when it makes landfall in one of the most populated areas of the United States. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another in-depth weather video. Here's Tropical Storm Fay, right off the coast of North Carolina. Currently has 45-mile-an-hour winds, has central pressure of 1,005 millibars, and is moving north at 7 miles an hour. Now, let's go to the warnings and cone static image. If you are in blue, you are under a tropical storm warning. That means that tropical storm force winds or tropical storm conditions are imminent. They are about to happen. They are going to happen between 2 p.m. on Friday and 2 a.m. on Saturday in these locations, including New York City. New York City is the target zone for this storm. The most populated center of the United States, New York City, is under those warnings, including Long Island, southern Connecticut, and the Jersey Shore. If you live along the coast, put your tropical storm plans in place, because this is going to make landfall very, very soon. Like, we're talking tomorrow. This is going to make landfall, so it is very important to get your plans in place now, before it happens. Now, let's go to the arrival time of winds and the 5-day wind speed probabilities. If you're in this dark green, you have a 5 to 10% chance of receiving tropical storm force winds. This lighter green here that I'm pointing to, 10 to 20. Here's 20 to 30. Here's 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, and 80 to 90 in this very thin strip here. Now, let's talk about timing. If you live in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, you are currently receiving the bulk of your winds. Now, if the earliest you could expect winds in areas of Virginia and Maryland would be between Thursday at 8 p.m., today at 8 p.m., and Friday at 2 a.m., so overnight tonight. Now, if you live in parts of Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey, the earliest you can expect winds is between Friday at 2 a.m. and Friday at 8 a.m. Now, if you live in most of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Long Island, excluding the very eastern parts of Long Island, you can expect your earliest chance of winds is at 8 a.m. Friday to 2 p.m. Friday. That includes the New York City metro area, or at least the 5 boroughs. Some of the metro area would be outside of that. The rest of the metro area is in that 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, as well as other areas of Connecticut, Long Island, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and most of New York. In this section, that's actually going, most of upstate New York is going to get impacted by this storm. The rest is after 8 p.m., above this line. Now, let's go to the interactive map, where we're going to see exactly where this is going to make landfall, or at least exactly where the National Hurricane Center is expecting this to make landfall. It could always move. It could always move, but right now, it is showing that this is going to make landfall right here through the Jamaica Bay. Here is John F. Kennedy Airport, just for reference. Here's Brooklyn, here's Queens, here's New York City right here. This black line here is the expected track that this is going to take. Now, it's not always going to be a very smooth, straight line. It could, zigzag around a little bit. But this is where they're expecting this to make landfall. But they extend the warnings very far out to ensure that everyone has their plan in place. If you live on the shore, and not even just the shore, if you are in anywhere that is going to be affected in the last area that I showed you, the arrival time of winds, this spread here, have your plan in place. Have your plan in place. Now, this is where the cone, people think that the the cone shows everywhere that's going to get impacted. No, this is just showing the possible tracks that this could take. So if you're in the cone, there's a possibility that this could pass right over you. The center of the storm passes right over you. If you're outside this cone, but still in that area that we showed before, the area of the winds, the wind probabilities, you can still be impacted by the storm. You might not get hit directly with the storm, like spot on, the center of the storm goes right over you, but there's still a chance that you can get tropical storm force winds, and there's definitely a chance that you can get some rain. Here is Tropical Storm Fay currently on the satellite imagery. You can see that this is intensifying because the plumes of the thunderstorm, the tops of the thunderstorms, it's looking very, well, it looks like a tropical storm, and that's what it is. And this is going to gain intensity. It's going to gain intensity as it starts moving north, and I'll show you that here when we get to the NAM 12-kilometer model. But right now, it's just off the coast of North Carolina, and the clouds are starting to go over Virginia, parts of Maryland and Delaware, and in just a few hours, this is going to start intensifying. It's going to start moving over more open waters before it gets to New Jersey and New York. Now, speaking of that, let's go here. Let's go to the eastern United States, and let's track this. Let's track this out. So, here's Fay. As you can see, it starts intensifying. When this number goes down, that means that it's getting stronger. Now, it's showing it's going to stay stagnant for a little while. Then it's going to start intensifying when it starts moving past Virginia and Delaware. And you can see this rain plume kind of expands as well. Now, here is where the heaviest rain is, on the north side. Normally, the north and east sides is where you're going to have the strongest rain. Strongest winds as well. So, the rain band moves through, and then you can see this kind of starts to slow down when it gets to the New York metro area. It starts to slow down a bit, and now we're starting to get into the area. It's further out, so this is going to start to skip some hours. But you can see that this tracks right through the northeast and dissipates at the same time. So let's go to next. Let's go to the next thing that I want to show is actually total accumulated precipitation. How much rain are you going to get from this storm? So let's specifically focus on the northeast. Right? So if you are in this blue area, let's start with the blue. So areas like most of New Jersey, parts of Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, most of Massachusetts, most of New Hampshire, parts of Maine, you are between a half an inch of rain and 2 inches of rain. If you're in this pink area, you are going to most likely get 2 to 3 inches of rain. And that includes New York. New York, Connecticut, parts of New Hampshire and Maine, and the Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia coastline right here east of the Chesapeake. And if you're higher than that, which is only out at sea right now for this storm, you're going to get more than 3 inches. So, next up, let's actually go back to here. Let's go to the ground level winds. So this is 10 meters, so 10 meters above the surface. That's about 30 feet above the surface. So we're gonna see, here is the tropical storm force winds is about this red area here. So that's when there's tropical storm force winds on the actual ground, not up in the clouds. So you can see none yet, but we do have some 20 to 40 knot winds impacting the shoreline. So this green here is 20 knots. impacting some shorelines. Then we start to get to the most intense areas. Now, New York might not see that bad of winds. Again, the north and east sides of the storm are where you're going to see your highest winds. So areas such as Montauk, such as like eastern Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Cape Cod in particular, you're going to get the higher winds out of this storm. And such areas like Nantucket usually get the highest winds. One, it's an island, and two, it's on the east side of these storms. We see that a lot with nor'easters. Then it's going to move through, it's going to weaken. So that's always good news. So that's all I wanted to cover with that. Let's actually go to WW3. This will show us a decent representation of storm surge and swells of waves. So it doesn't necessarily line up with the coastline here, but it's the best thing we got on Tropical Tidbits. So you can see there's pretty strong swells, so we can get between 7 to 11 foot swells in areas, and then eventually it'll weaken in the area. So the highest swells that you could possibly get is maybe 10 to 11 feet. So 10 to 11 feet is looking like the highest swells with this storm, but still, you have a lot of rain with the storm, you have some decent winds, and you have possibility of storm surge. So in the highest density area of the United States, a lot of people live in this area, so I'm trying to really bring that to your attention. If you have put a plan in place for tropical storm situations, especially if you live along the coasts of New Jersey, Long Island, and Connecticut. If you're in a tropical storm warning, definitely get prepared. But if you're just outside those tropical storm warnings, still get prepared. This could always intensify. So that's all I really wanted to show. Tropical Storm Fay has formed, and it is expected to make landfall in the New York City metropolitan area. And if you're in that area, be safe and always have that plan in place, and stay tuned. I'm going to be doing more coverage here, as well as the Weather Channel is going to be doing coverage, as well as any other local news station that you have if you're in that area. Tropical Storm Fay looking to make landfall in the New York City metropolitan area.